So where were we? Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've talked about this car, posted anything about it. As you can see, it's back on its wheels, which must mean the suspension is finally done. I think that's where we left off. The front suspension was finished. Rear suspension, we were waiting for the shock. The strut tubes to be replaced. They had to be pressed out. And that's been done. You can see, it's a lot hard to see here. I'll put some pictures in here too, but there's the aluminum carrier and then the new tube in there. And you can see everything's a little dusty. That's because I've been driving the car. There's the new axles. They seem really great. I can't really recall that there was a lot of difference. I drove it very gingerly when I brought it home, so I didn't, I've had very little experience with the Rotoflex joints. But this feels nice and solid, and they work well. I don't, there's nothing bad to say about them. The suspension is done. The car is on its wheels. Yay! I replaced the muffler. This is I don't know if I talked about that or not. This is a more or less stock unit that's in there now. There was a straight cherry bomb thing from the 70s in here before, and now it's this style. So that's in, and the suspension's in, and it's a little harder to see over here in the dark, but there we are. Okay, back on the ground. Let's see, what else has happened since the last update? The suspension is a big part. I've been driving the car. One of the problems kind of the next bugaboo was the engine wasn't running really well, and a little bit of investigation showed that the mounting hardware for the carburetors is what's called a MESAB, or I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, a MESAB plate. It's a plate with an O-ring kind of molded into it that forms a gasket between the carburetor and the manifold. And those were in bad shape, and these are little rubber cones that are squeezed between these two washers, and those were in bad shape. And underneath the carburetors, you can see there's 4 bolts up here, and underneath there's 4 more, and they use a similar arrangement with 2 washers, but there's a little spring in between them, a small spring washer called a Thackeray washer, and those I just replaced everything. Carburetors also, these I was very lucky to find recently rebuilt, and so that's why they're pretty clean looking. Pretty good match in terms of jetting and stuff for this motor. So that worked out really well. And after some additional educational processes of learning about Weber carburetors, I got them running. It's far from perfect, but it's drivable, and it runs decently. This is a fuel pressure regulator that I put in up here. They're fussy about how much pressure they get, and that seems to be a pretty common addition to Weber carbureted cars. So I put one in this. Let's see. The other thing was the throttle cable, not the throttle cable, the speedometer cable. Long story short, the speedometer was acting up when I got the car. Al was pretty sure that it was the speedometer itself that needed to come out and be rebuilt. I, having had some experience with these, thought, yes, it could be the speedometer. It could also be the cable binding up. Sometimes the cables get dried out. There's no lube on them. So I took a look at it. Sure enough, the cable, it was dry. I bench tested the speedometer. It worked fine. The angle drive is broken, so I made a repair to that, which I'll show you in a minute, because it broke again. But put it all back together, put it in the car, drove out the driveway, and the speedometer worked it didn't even get to the end of the driveway before it broke again. And it turns out that the speedometer itself was binding. And so I ended up taking it apart. There's a bushing in the back end of it where the cable connects, and that was in bad shape. It was obviously crudted up, and just from age and a little bit of wear. And so I cleaned everything there, gently lubricated it, put it back together, and that's good to go now. Cable did not die from that, but the angle drive did. And angle drives, there. There we go, angle drives. Cigarette lighter, that's a Lotus Elan cigarette lighter right there. So this is a speedometer angle drive. And the way they work is there should be a threaded cap on here that would screw it onto the transmission, and then the throttle cable, the speedometer cable, I don't know why I keep calling it a throttle cable. Speedometer cable goes here, and obviously it makes a nice right angle turn to help with the routing of the cable. That's the whole point. There should be, coming out of here, a thing that looks like this, so like that. This is just the end of an old cable that I have around. So that should be sticking out of there. But the first one broke, and then I cobbled up a second one, and it's right here. Because the second one broke too. I hope you can see it. It's twisted up. It's all twisted into very neatly, and just kept twisting until it broke. So I finally threw in the towel, and I'm buying another one. The prices are cringeworthy for such a little thing. It seems like the ones that work on an Elan are very unique and hard to find, and so expensive. And I'm waiting on that. So that's fixed once I get the parts. What else has happened? Big stuff. Oh, let me get the light. So while I was doing all this carburetor fiddling and so forth and so on, this here is the choke cable, and it's a metal wire housing, and it inadvertently, I didn't realize it, but this being starter solenoid, there's nice big wires going to the bottom of it, direct connection to the battery, and this made contact with the battery post and was conducting electricity. This is why all of this was apart and these were loose. And it was conducting electricity, which meant it was getting very hot. And what it eventually did, unbeknownst to me, was that it melted the capillary tube that feeds oil pressure from the engine to the oil pressure gauge inside, which is a mechanical gauge. And unbeknownst to me, it got a hole in it, and it sprayed oil all over this side of the car inside. Just what one wants to see. So there was oil everywhere. I mean, it's remarkable. I drove it maybe a mile, and it was just, for that little tiny tube, it sure can make a big mess. That's all I have to say. So, RD Enterprises to the rescue. If you look right there, there's too many lights here. You can see that stainless steel line there, running right there. And then, I don't know if I can get you a shot of the other end, where it attaches to the engine down there, makes a right angle turn and attaches the motor. That's the replacement. It's no longer plastic. It's newer and sturdier, and hopefully will last a nice long time. So the car drives well now. The tune is not great. I can live with it, but it drives. I can drive it. And the suspension is nice. It feels good, and there's a lot of body lean. But I had a really wonderful opportunity to drive another Elan just recently. A fellow from the forums that lives not too far away. He has an Elan, similar vintage. He has the CV joints in the back. It has a Tony Thompson type suspension with the fast road setup and the stronger springs and so forth. So it's very similar in suspension and drivetrain. And it gave me a chance to see whether this, what I've done is the way they are. Did I make it, the way I wanted it, or is it something strange now? And because, one of my big objectives is to have the Elan experience. These things were so highly spoken of during my youth that I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about, I guess. And so I'm getting closer to that. And to that end, I made a video a little earlier. I'll probably stick that in here, but these are new tires. These are Pirelli Cinturato CA67, but well, they're new old tires, I guess. I suppose this is the goo that they use when they mount them. They're 155/13s. They're the old style tread pattern that would have been on the car in the 60s. So the size and the tread pattern that would have been on the car new. And so that was something that I really wanted to do because, modern tires are, a far cry from what they used to be. This is a sort of a hybrid, if you will. It's an old design, but it's new technology, some new technologies in terms of the tire construction, newer rubber. So there are some changes, but they're still much more of a throwback type tire than they are a modern tire, and they're the original size. So I think they look good. I think they suit the car in terms of how it looks, and so I'm very pleased with that. I'll tack a video on the end of this about talking about them more and showing a few more pictures. And the new tires are mounted. There they are. Pretty neat. There's 3 of them. I got one over at the other side over there for comparison. It's Pirelli Cinturato CA67 155/13. I think they call it a 78 series, but basically it's the size that a 155/13 Pirelli was in 1966, and pretty sure that this was a tire that would have come on the car new. So that was the objective, to put some same kind of tire on the car that had been on it. Here's a comparison of these are the Vredesteins that were on it. That's a let me see here. Yeah, that's a 165/70 R13, a modern tire, like mud and snow rated, etc., etc. Nice tire. Lots of people put them on these vintage cars in the 13-inch size, but there's a comparison between the two side by side. So the 70 series is a little shorter, a little wider, well, considerably wider. I'd say 1.5 times as wide, maybe. It's wider. And this is a little taller than 155. If I stand it straight up, you can see it's a little bit taller. I can't leave it like that, it wants to fall over. So those are going to go on. I can't wait. It's blisteringly hot here right now, but I'm going to put them on, and I think see if I can go for a drive in the morning before the real heat gets really bad.